he totally has the right to change his mind. Baldoni has the right to change their mind, or whatever might be going on. If there's a settlement or something else, everybody has the right to take care of themselves and to do what they think is best for themselves. But let us not pretend or act like it is unreasonable of people to feel disappointment. This was not teed up well. This was not signaled well by Bryan Freedman. You do not go on TV or whatever and assure people in a blustery tone that you're still going to rain hellfire and brimstone on Blake Lively. Just hold on, it's coming. And then 2 weeks later, you don't even prepare people for the fact that there's not going to be an amended complaint. Again, maybe 1 minute from now, we find out something different. Great. I'm very optimistic and hopeful that Bryan Freedman still has a PR, and the people he's working with still have a PR strategy, and that he'll release some kind of a statement. And who knows, maybe we find out there's some great settlement or whatever, and Blake Lively's going to fall on her sword because she didn't want to do a deposition. All things are possible. But having to react in real time, I'm going to react. This is a big thing. They didn't file the complaint. And so at this point in time, until we find out more, this thing has been dropped. Now, as I was saying about the Manson stuff, I saw this with Marilyn Manson. He brought a dynamite lawsuit against Evan Rachel Wood and her co-conspirator, ex-girlfriend, Ilma Gore, partner in crime, Ilma Gore, the one she wrote that fake FBI letter with that she submitted to the court. Anyway, he filed a dynamite lawsuit against them. And guess what happened? California anti-SLAPP slapped him in the face. And the judge in that case, similar to what Lyman did, basically gutted the lawsuit. Now, I know some people were saying, well, this lawsuit wasn't gutted. And I appreciate input from people like Legal Bites on that. I don't know. It's a relative term. But the most important claims of defamation and extortion, yes, were gutted, were taken out by the judge. So anyway, this happened in the Manson case as well. And so what happened was, after that happened, then I assume Manson and his attorneys looked at the situation, and Manson said, I don't want to continue to throw millions of dollars at this thing when they've gutted my case. I've gotten my evidence out there. I've said what I want to say. I've put out there what I want to put out there. It's time to just cut my losses, so to speak, or cut my wins, or however you want to put it, and get out of here. Not saying it's not a legitimate opinion, but guess what? After that happened, when Manson did that, when he dropped his lawsuit, then there were all of these Manson fans who were saying, we shouldn't be upset about this. We shouldn't say a bad word about this. It's his life. It's what he wants to do. Everybody just shut up and go with the program. No, that's not how I roll. I've never pretended to be a wing of Justin Baldoni's PR operation. I haven't. Other people may think that. Blake Lively may think that, but it's not true. And what I said when the Manson thing happened is, you cannot egg people on for months and months and months and get them. I'm talking about the fans now. I'm talking about Manson fans, or in this case, Baldoni supporters. We cannot, as YouTubers, and you, Bryan Freedman and others, you cannot get these people, get us all worked up, and we're going to go to war and we're going to fight. We're going to obliterate them with this. And then even 2 weeks ago, we got that bad news from the judge, and we're told, oh, but this is not even, we've not even begun to fight, basically. We've got so much still on the table, so many claims still. We're going to be filing this dynamite amended complaint. Okay, it didn't happen. And that's fine. But it is absolutely inappropriate and ridiculous and out of line to tell Baldoni supporters that they should not be disappointed in this, especially when it was so terribly teed up. We got no warning of this, no statement. It's like, just almost like what, hoping people wouldn't notice. The coverage is going to be terrible today. Yes. And I said this to someone earlier online who was criticizing me for basically expressing the obvious, which is that this is a bad day for Justin Baldoni. And telling me, oh, hold on here. And I said, that person, you need to put your fucking big boy pants on. If you think that what I'm saying is going to be the worst that Team Wayfarer and Team Baldoni gets today, then you're crazy. It's going to be terrible, terrible coverage. And look, that's fine. Again, we don't do everything in life according to one PR cycle or two PR cycles or three media cycles or what have you. I'm not saying that they made the wrong decision. I am saying it could have been teed up better. And I'm also saying that I really hope that there's some kind of a plan in place for how they're going to walk this back PR-wise now. And maybe again, there's a settlement. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about. Totally possible. But it is not right. It is an insult to Justin Baldoni's supporters to demand and expect that we should not be disappointed and a little taken aback by this, because it's a complete change in the strategy that we were told by Bryan Freedman was forthcoming. And it is disappointing. The headline is going to be Justin Baldoni gives up. Now, having said all of that, I still believe that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer have won the war overall. I still believe that they had no choice but to file the lawsuit that they did. Now, in hindsight, the price tag might have been a little much. If it turns out that part of what we're worrying about here, part of the reason this is getting dropped is because the price tag has become too much. I know that there were claims by Blake Lively's side that Steve Sarowitz, the billionaire who's backing Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer, that Steve Sarowitz had boasted to someone that he was prepared to spend $100 million to defeat Blake Lively. I don't know if he said that or not, but it's one thing to theoretically say $100 million. It's another thing when you slap a $400 million lawsuit on the table and then much of it gets dismissed by the judge. And then you have to start worrying about whether the judge is going to go by the 47.1 California statute, which entitles Blake Lively to treble damages. I don't know if the treble damages is 3 times the 400 that they were asking for, or how that's calculated. Maybe it's not nearly that much. But when you start, I don't care if you're a billionaire, and when you start looking into the hundreds of millions in terms of a payout, money out of your pocket, then that's a hard pill for people to swallow, because even a billionaire is not liquid to the tune of $1 billion. You realize that, right? When people say that Kylie Jenner is a billionaire, they're not talking about her liquid assets, that she's got $1 billion in the bank account. No, they're saying that if she were to sell off her cosmetics company, which would be a long and involved process, and sell off everything she owns, then she would theoretically have $1 billion there. That's very, very different. Someone can be worth $1 billion and actually be fairly illiquid. In fact, Elon Musk has complained about that before. So my point being is that I don't know Steve Sarowitz's financial situation, but this thing, and again, I'm just speculating, I don't know, but this really could just be an issue of he was like, this just isn't worth it. We've won the war overall. People think more negatively of Blake Lively than they did before this thing started. And people now know about Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni. They have a certain cachet now, and they're famous. So they've got that. And then most people, not everybody, but most people, I think, have a positive view of Baldoni coming out of this. So the feeling might have been, why do we want to risk hundreds of millions of dollars or however much and put ourselves through all of this when we've more or less won public opinion? So I'm not denying any of that. I'm not denying that it makes sense. It could be too that, look, Justin Baldoni, he's always been a pacifist at heart. All of that Baha'i stuff, that's not just fake bullshit. It's not fake bullshit to them, to these people. Baldoni, Heath, Steve Sarowitz. I mean, their faith is the foundation of everything they do. So it's also possible that maybe Baldoni and the others felt like this was just spiritually not healthy for them to continue in this kind of a fight, even if they were justified. This stuff tears people apart. It's not great for your soul. I don't even think covering it is great for your soul. I feel like covering this stuff for 5 years, even though I think it's been an honorable thing to have defended these falsely accused men and to stand up against Me Too and to stand up against this infantilizing, victim-oriented feminism that's everywhere now. I think it's a noble thing. But also, it's just a lot of grimy shit, too, that you have to talk about and you have to cover and you have to deal with. So I totally understand if for whatever reason, or a number of these reasons, Baldoni and Wayfarer decided they wanted out. And I'm not saying that this is the end or that this is some disaster like no other, or how are they going to climb out of this or whatever. No, I still think that overall Baldoni and Wayfarer have won the war. Blake Lively, I don't know how much work she's going to get in the future. Maybe she continues to get movies and stuff, but her reputation is in tatters. She is more hated than she was going into this thing, and that's saying a lot. So if the girl did not like her standing in public before all this shit started, in other words, if one of the reasons why Blake Lively started all of this shit to begin with, this whole drama, is because she was so eaten up with how badly she was perceived online, well, she's perceived way worse now by way more people. Many people in the public see her as Amber Heard part 2. So she has not gained anything through this. So look, we can let her have a victory lap today or whatever, or just accept that it's going to happen. And we can accept that there's going to be a lot of bad PR coming Justin's way in the next day or two. And then also understand that there are major bumps in the road, but still that the road is favorable for Justin. He's going to go on. I assume he's going to continue to produce, and he and Wayfarer will continue to produce projects that mean a lot to them. Hopefully, some of them at least will be successful. He'll have a long career in Hollywood. Blake Lively, she is perceived by many, including many people in Hollywood, as being utterly toxic. I don't think that's going to undergo some huge transformation, much as she would like it to. Look at where Amber Heard is. I see people freaking out over the fact that Amber Heard has been hired to do a play. Did you look at that play? Did you look at where it's being performed? It's being performed in some weird corner of Massachusetts or whatever. That doesn't mean shit in terms of Hollywood clout. You do understand, right, that when it comes to theater, anything that's not Broadway or off Broadway or London, it's basically considered to be bullshit. It's not some big career booster. She's not doing some big Tony Award winning performance. And half the play is in Spanish. I read that today. I thought that was hilarious. Half the play is in Spanish. You think, no offense to my Spanish speaking friends, but do you really think that this play is going to be some huge hit when most people can't understand half of it? Come on. So Amber Heard got some stupid job in some corner of Massachusetts doing a half Spanish play that no one's going to give a shit about. Her career is not being revitalized. Ridiculous. Absolutely not. So look, whatever happens, Blake, her reputation, I have to plug my computer in just a second. Blake, her reputation is in the toilet. It's in the toilet. It's going to continue to be in the toilet. If she was bothered in the first place by the perception of her online, you can damn well bet that she's going to be really bothered now by what public perception is. And she's not going to be able to erase it. So it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be okay. No one is saying otherwise. But I am saying that this is a big disappointment. It is okay for people to feel disappointed. It is okay also to say that this was poorly teed up by Bryan Freedman, and it seems like his team has been flailing just a bit as of late. You can get mad at me. Well, you wouldn't do any better. Well, I'm not trying to do any better. That's why I didn't go to law school. I didn't want the burden of all that shit. But I'm just telling you, for someone that a number of us have been billing as a lawyer extraordinaire and a PR genius, I just hope that he's got a big rabbit to pull out of the hat today or tomorrow to fight all the bad PR that he's going to be getting. Now, you might say, well, he doesn't care. Well, maybe he doesn't care. You know, someone was saying to me today on Twitter, maybe Baldoni just got tired of it. Yeah, I totally get it. It's not a mystery why someone would get tired of all this. But the game is what the game is. And so if you're playing the game, then you got to acknowledge when you've lost some rounds. Okay? And so, yes, maybe Justin Baldoni doesn't care about public perception or feels like he's already won. He doesn't need to do anymore. Yes, that's fine. He can have those feelings. But I can also have feelings about the way things seem to have kind of not gone well the last several weeks. And I have this feeling that Team Bryan Freedman or Team Baldoni Wayfarer is not quite on top of things, really. Now, it could be that something big happened yesterday in the deposition and that something is blown up in Blake Lively's face, and that actually the reason that we did not see an amended complaint from Baldoni's side is because they've actually come to some really advantageous settlement with Blake Lively, great. I look forward to being able to get back on here and rejoice over that and talk about what a fucking genius Bryan Freedman is. But let's just acknowledge that it's not looking like a good day so far. And let's just acknowledge that when you get people stoked for months and months on the idea that there's going to be this grand comeuppance one day for Blake Lively, or that we're still fighting, or we're still in it, or we still got all these claims, and then you just kind of peter out, not with a bang, but with a whimper, that there are going to be understandable reactions to that. Okay? So, yeah, I don't know. These things are rough. They're hard to do. Look, it's hard to win these kinds of cases. I do wonder if Bryan Freedman made it clear to his clients how rough the road in front of them was going to be. I'm not, again, they really had no choice but to file the lawsuit, because public perception of them was in the toilet prior to this lawsuit being filed, and the one against the New York Times. It was in the toilet. People thought it was almost universally believed by people who are paying attention to this that Baldoni was a sleazebag, et cetera, right? So this had to be done. But I do wonder if Bryan Freedman adequately prepared his clients for the rough road that they were going to be on. I hope so. I hope he did. Because that's the thing that attorneys need to make clear in these situations is, okay, we're filing this lawsuit not to win, because it's almost impossible to win these kinds of things, and you might end up losing a lot of money too these days, but we're filing it just to get your evidence out there, to get an opposing perspective out there, and to try to sway public opinion. So they did that, and it was done. And now, unfortunately, it's just this kind of uncomfortable process of sort of ripping the Band-Aid off of the fact, so that that when it gets to this point, generally people drop out. I'm talking about these defamation claims. Generally, they drop out because they know if they stay in it, they're going to lose. I've seen people talking recently about the Johnny Depp situation, and how, and one of the things that came out in that book, which I know people are fighting over whether that new book about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is accurate or not. But one of the things that came out in that is that almost everyone around him prior to the trial in Virginia believed that he was going to lose, and he was getting legal advice from a number of attorneys and even a judge telling him, you need to settle. People have been claiming that Kathleen Zellner, that he brought onto his team toward the end, although she didn't end up really doing anything, as I understand it. Of course, that's complicated, that she even told him to settle. Well, why do you think all of these people were telling Johnny Depp to settle, despite the fact that he had all of those terribly incriminating audios where he had Amber Heard on tape, on audio, admitting repeatedly to hitting him and admitting that he would run away when she would try to hit him? He had her dead to rights, as they say. And yet, even then, most legal experts believed that he was going to lose that defamation case, and he very well might have. That shows you how fucked the system is when it comes to defamation cases of this type. And I've talked about this before. I talked about it in other videos where I got into the anti-SLAPP statutes and the 47.1, and I tried to explain how toxic the current judicial system is when it comes to these types of claims. It is the assumption of the judicial system that women who claim assault and harassment are telling the truth because they are women, and that men who claim defamation are lying because they are men. That is the assumption of the justice system. And so when you play this game, you have to understand that that's what you're fighting against. And so I hope that, I really hope that Freedman made that clear to his clients. And I hope that we've not gotten into a situation here where the clients, Baldoni and Wayfarer, were assured that they had a really good shot at this thing, and they've only now had to come to this dawning realization that, gee, this is tough. I don't know what the case is, but whatever. At any rate, Justin Baldoni's lawsuit is it's dead. And anticipated better, could have been signaled better, could have been teed up better. And you had all these Baldoni supporters that were told 2 weeks ago, oh, basically no big deal, because this thing is still on full steam ahead, and we've got all these other claims, and we're filing an amended complaint, and then nothing, and then no statement. So Bryan Freedman, if you were listening, I do really think you need to say something today.